And today we are going to look at positioning. You understand? But as usual, we look at our website, which is W3 School. So we go through under CSS and then we navigate to position. Right? So we ask ourselves, what is position? What is the property? When you say positioning, what is that property for? You understand? CSS positioning. CSS positioning is about controlling the placement of elements within a web page. So where do you want the element to be placed? So that is what we do. You control the placement of those elements within the page. So with CSS positioning, you can override a normal document flow. I mean, the web view of what? Of the web page. You can override it. And as you know, when we talk about display, we look at the default, which was what? Either the element is a line or block. So with the help of display, we can override the normal behavior of the HTML. You understand? If the HTML is what? The element is a block, we can change it using display to a line or block. So this similar to this CSS property, which is positioning, we can also override the normal document flow because we are dealing with placement of elements within a web page. So the CSS position property is it specifies the position type for an element. Understand? So when you say position, the property specifies the positioning type for an element. And the values we normally use under the property of this positioning are static, which is the default behavior, relative, fixed, absolute, or sticky. You understand? So these are some of the values we use under this position. So after declaring that we want this position, based on the values, we can now recommend either we want the element to be at the top or bottom, left or right. You understand? So these are some of the values that we use on this positioning property. And after we use that, we then specify where we want the element to be placed, either at the top, bottom, left, or right. You understand? So CSS positioning, if we are going to look at static, let's say we are going to look at static. Static is the default. Default means it's in the same one, the place where it came from, where it's supposed to be. That's the default behavior. So when we look at static, it is the main default behavior. You understand? So static position elements are not affected by the top, bottom, left, and right property. Because they are just static, they are not affected by this placement, top, bottom, left, or right. You understand? Therefore, an element with position static is always positioned according to the normal flow of the page, the normal view of the page. So for instance, if we have something like the way they give here as the div, so if you are going to copy this and say we are going inside our website, and say okay, we are talking about static. Let's see, let's see number one, which is, let me use each one. Let's see number one, which is static. Right, so we are talking about the first one, which is static. That is the default or behavior. Right, so if I say static, no. So let's see, okay, since we've created our this thing here, you can create a div, right? And here you can place this div here, right? This div is here, so we can what? Copy this and say the div class name is static, right? And then here we have a border. We can have the position which is static. So for instance, let's make it the div is like this. Maybe let me just clear this div and leave it as. Then I can add width. Let me say maybe the width I can make it 200 pixels, right? And then height, I say maybe I want also 200 pixels so that it will look like a box, like this box, right? So this is our div now. We have this div. There's nothing inside, right? We can write something, but okay, let me just write static inside. Okay, so that you understand this one is maybe okay, let me just clear it if not to confuse you. If I'll be looking at what is inside, you understand. So let me just make it as there's nothing inside. And then here, instead of maybe using the border, I can just use using background color is better. I can just see maybe the background color is this. Understand? So now this is my div. I have width and height in the background color. So now if I see position, I see static, nothing will what will appear. So if I say top and I see what top should be 100 pixels, nothing happened to it because it is position static. Even when you add top, it doesn't what it doesn't affect the static because this one is just static. How do you understand? Because if I say top, meaning I want it to what from the top, it should move at 100 pixels. If I say what at the left, it should move what maybe 200 pixels. Nothing is affected here. It doesn't affect it because it is static. So that's the default behavior. You understand? So it is just stay where it is. That is what we call static. You understand? It doesn't change anything. Nothing affects it. It is static. So that is what static means. So just put it in your mind. Okay, we move forward. We look at what position, which is what relative. An element with position relative is position relative to its normal position in the document flow. What does it mean? So setting the top, right, bottom, and left property will cause the element to be adjusted away from its normal position. Other content will not be adjusted to fit into any gap left by the element. So what does it mean? For instance, if we are talking about relative now, so for instance, this one is static, right? So for instance, if we come here and say, instead of position static, we can remove this. Okay, let me clear this so that you can see it clearly. Let me clear this thing. Yeah. So that you can leave it just like that. So now instead of here, I have static, right? So now I don't want to add static, but I want to use different one value, which is what? Relative, right? Relative. So I say relative. So now, since I say relative, remember that when it was static, when I apply top, bottom, left, nothing is affected because it is static, right?
Yeah.
But now if I say top and I say 200 pixels, what happened?
It changed the position.
Yeah, it changed the position. It means that when it was here, it moved down to what? To 200 pixels. So you always have to know that when I say relative, means that now this box can now move based on the page, the view page of the website. I mean the page. You understand? But if I say static, this cannot move. I hope you understand.
Mm.
So that you can see the color of the body too. Maybe I can see this color. So here I have the body. So all this view, the body that you see, this one, because this one is relative, this one can what? Can move around because I say it is relative. It's not static now. It is relative. So if I say top, when I say top means it means that from the top move down. So always put that in your mind. When we say top, always think at the what? The opposite what direction, meaning move at bottom.
Mm.
I hope you understand. So if I
Yeah.
say top, if I say zero, it means that it will stay at the top here, zero. It's still here. Here it is the zero at top, right?
Mm.
But when I say 10 pixels, I mean from this top 80, it move down 10 pixels. So if I count from this to here, it is 10. This space is 10, meaning it's from top to down, which is 10. You understand? But
Mm.
if I say 100, you see how it is. So if I want it to move to this right, which one should I use? We have top, we have right, we have left, we have bottom. So if I want this to move and come here, which should I use? Which value should I use? Where is it? Here is standing at the top left, right?
Yeah.
So if I want it to move down, then I said if I can, I told you that I can use what, 100. Maybe I can add some pixels. It came down. So from top, I say move what down, it came 100 pixels. Then I say that from here, I already have top, which move. So I don't want to add a value which can move. Like maybe I can add 100 pixels to with a value which can move it to this position. So I ask you, which value should I use?
Then you will use right.
I use right. Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
So where is your right? When you're looking at this thing, where is your left? Where is your right?
Now it's standing at the left edge. It's standing at the left edge. So now
Okay,
if
so if it's standing at the left edge, right?
yeah,
And then you want it to move, right? I told you
to
why
the
did I
right.
tell you the first? I told you that when you are looking at this, when I say top, I just said it. When I say top, you always look at the positive side and the negative side. For instance, this one is top, right?
Yeah.
So the reverse of top is what? Bottom, right?
Yeah.
So if I add anything here, that something that I add it's going to push that thing to the bottom. Don't look at the word top. When we say top, mean the thing is already at the top. I hope you understand now.
Mm.
It means that the thing is at the top. Now I want the thing to move from that top. So when it is moving from that top, where is it going? Definitely it's going to come down. If something is up and is what, where is the direction? It's going to come down. So if I said 100 pixels, it comes down. So similarly, if that thing is here, where is it here? Here it's left, right? Here
Yeah.
is left, right? So when I say I want this to move, if I say left, right? If I add 100, the thing is going to move what? Here. Because I say
So we're
it's going to
using the
move at the
opposite.
opposite direction.
So it's
I hope
kind
you
of
understand.
using the opposite
That's why
opposite
I said
thing.
you should always think that way. Because if you always think that because this is here is right, you are going, if you say right, me is going to move right. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You understand? You cannot stand right and you are saying you are moving right. Meanwhile, your edges are looking at your edges. For instance, you are standing here, and I said I want this one to move here. and you are saying you are going to move left, that means this one will not be here. This one will go here, right?
Mm.
So I told you that always look at the first value that is added and what? And think the negative where it is going is what? Opposite side. I hope you understand because it will confuse you if you don't understand it that way. Because you see, when I
Yeah.
ask you, say this one, I should do it right. And meanwhile, it's not the correct decision because the thing is, it is left. So we first target where it is. It is left. So you write left. Now you now specify. If now I say 0 pixels, right? It is still at left 0. So it is still here, right?
Yeah.
So if now I said 100, it now shifts here to here because this what I'm applying is positive, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
means I'm moving to a positive direction like this. So if I say negative, where does it go? You see?
Left direction.
Now it's going what at back, but with negative. So if I say top and I say 0 means it's still here. But immediately I add and say 100, it comes down because the edge is here. That edge is here. So always think about the edge. The edge is where it is 0, its initial position. So if I say what left and I say 0, it's still here. But immediately I add something like 100 pixels, it move here because here we are talking about something which is what? In positive what? Direction here. Right. Maybe 10 pixels. Where did it move? You see where it went, right? It went in this way. Similarly, if I want to achieve the same thing, I can also that say left, but I'll give negative. Left, but this one, I can make it negative. You understand?
Mm.
So always you have to look at where the direction is and then give the opposite side so that you understand it better. If this what move the parents, it can move inside these parents. So that is what this is. We call it relative. Understand? So now I can just see maybe top and see 100 pixels. So it move like this. Maybe I can see left and see maybe 100 pixels. It's also move like this. Now, if this one is static, it cannot move, right?
Mm.
But if it is relative, it can move. So that is why you have to understand about relative. You understand? So what is the default value for the position property for each HTML element? We just said it,
Static.
static, right? Right, so static. Okay, so let's move forward. Which one? We are looking at fixed, right? We talk about static, we talk about relative, and we are now talking about fixed. So position fixed, an element with position fixed is position relative to the viewport, which means it always stays in the same place, even if the page is scrolled. The top, right, bottom, and left property are used to set the final location of the element. A fixed element does not have a gap in the page where it would normally have been located. Notice the fixed element is lower right corner of the page in this one. So they are giving you what the fixed location is. You understand? So for instance, if we are to look at what they're saying, this is what they're talking about, right? So this one is the fix. So for instance, if I'm going to give an example like this, for instance, we have this box. If we have some let's say inside our website, we have paragraph, and maybe there's some lot of, you can see there are a lot of words in, so maybe content in, maybe, let me see if I can duplicate this. Right. If I can duplicate this, maybe you can see like this, right? Let's say we have something like this. Just want you to see how it is. Okay, so now we have something like this. Right? So let's say we have our content, and then this is our box. And our box is what? Let's see, it is, we remove this top right. So this is where our box is, right? So now what we are looking at fixed, right? So now if I say fixed, what happened to our box?
Can
Hmm?
like the position of the text come under it? Or
Okay, so the position of the text comes under it, and it doesn't have any space. You see, it's
yeah.
what it is on top of the text because we set it to fix. So this text have to be at the background, at the back of the what our box. You understand? Because we set this one to fix. It doesn't care where these elements are. You understand? So it doesn't care. Since you set it to be fixed, it is fixed at the position where you set it. You understand? So here, if I see maybe at the top, maybe bottom, I'll set it to 0. Where does it go? You see now it is
Came
what?
down.
At the bottom. You see now it is at the bottom.
Mm.
So even if I have something like, maybe let's say, okay, let's say like this. So you see, even if I scroll, you see it is just the stick, like it is fixed there,
Mm.
right? It
Yeah.
is fixed there. So it doesn't move, just there. So it is looking at there, the view of the page, the website. Understand?
Mm.
It is just stuck at the bottom. So in this way, this is where you can have this kind of, for instance, if you go to my website, this website, when you scroll down, you scroll down, you scroll down. Do you see this one? You see this?
Yeah.
So it is what? It is fixed here. Even if I go, wherever I'm going, it is just there, right?
Mm.
It is just there. So if I want to come up, if I click on it, it take me up. Understand? So it is just always there. So that is how you can achieve similar thing here, like this. You understand? You can achieve something like this. So maybe if you want to achieve, maybe here, we can see the box. You can maybe say our box will be maybe, we can say our box is 50, right? And height also is going to be, maybe we can say 50. I understand. Just small, small like this. I understand. So if you
So this
want,
position is it normally used for that? The one that you show me on your
yeah, it's
webpage.
normally used for that. It depends on, so we can set cursor to pointer. So it can be like this is clicking when you are going to click. I understand like this.
Mm.
You understand? So you can just set, maybe if you can add text inside or something inside, but maybe for now, because we are not dealing with that, you can set off, something like this. Or maybe we can add some arrow, maybe um something like maybe something like this to show that it's going like this way. Understand? I could have gotten maybe like this and give and put an arrow there and see an arrow. Understand? Then I can choose maybe, let's say I'm going to choose this arrow. This is the arrow, right? Then if this is an arrow, then I can just use CSS to put it at the center. You understand? So now you can target this and see, maybe can just give an example. Just want to, because this one is test. Since it's a test, I can just target this and say I want this to come here, take this, and then since it is there like this, I can just target the P and make this, because this is fixed here, right?
Mm.
And then if I go here and I say it, and let's say display flex, right? And then justify center and the center line center. You see now it is at the center now. Understand? So now it shows that I can click here. So maybe I can add maybe I can even reduce this to, let's say 20 or 30. And so this one could also be 30 or 40. That's something like this. You understand? Just to look similar the way we have here, like this, something like this. And but I'm just trying to see it. So now it is clickable. You understand? So now the position I set it to bottom, right? So I can also set it to what? You can set right. So when I say right, if I say 0, it means that it move here. This is the right. So it move here and go to the 0 here. So I said 0. You understand? So it is now here in this position. I don't know what this one is. I understand. So if, for instance, let's open it with our live server here. Open it with live server here. So it is like this. You see here. Understand? So now because it is here, look, the simplest way to even understand this is, you see, I set it to what? Bottom 0, meaning come down 0. So it is at bottom 0 here. Right 0, meaning be at the right side 0. Right? So now it is being bottom right. So it is here. Right? So now, say it is 0. If I wanted to move away from this right slightly, what? And come just here. Maybe I can just say move 10 pixels. 10 pixels. You see now where it is. So it's not now stuck at the 0 edge here. It moved away 10 pixels. Right? That's the same like this one. Or maybe we can make it maybe 20. Looking at ours, we can say we want it to move like 20 pixels. So it will move here. You'll see how it is seen. But it is at the what? At the bottom right. So we can use what this position to achieve all these things. If you want our thing to be at the top right, top left, or whichever what position. So that is the importance of this, using this position in the values, which is fixed or relative or static. You understand?
Yeah.
Understand. So as I told you last time, these are very important. We shall come to it, the display flex, but today not. We're not looking at this, we're looking at the position. So that is what the fix is doing. Fix is just to be fixed at the other position, but it doesn't even give a space. You understand? It doesn't give a space. It is always stick. It's also stick here. So we can say here is bottom. So if I delete the bottom and I set it to what? You see it went to top. If I say top and I see 0, it goes and stick to the one at the top 0 there. You see it stick to top 0. But looking at that, it's right. So it's still top right. Understand? So if I delete this right, so it be at its initial position, which is here. So even I scroll, because it is fixed, it is still there. I understand. So that is the third one, which is third value, which is fixed. So the absolute, an element with what position absolute is position relative to the nearest position ancestor. You understand? With position other than static. So, however, if an absolute position element has no position ancestor, it therefore uses the document body, similar to the one we did, right? So, a move along with page scrolling. Absolute position elements are removed from the normal document flow and can overlap other elements. So here is an example, like this. So how can we achieve this? If I see what here, the explanation here, the position relative to the nearest word, position ancestor. It's just the nearest to the word, the main word, parent. Maybe box 2. Right? So now if this is the box 1, this is the box 2, which is inside. So now this box, if I say this one to be relative, for instance, if I say box, position, okay, let me set this to, if I say 200 pixels, and the height, I give it 200 pixels, and then I give a color, maybe background color, maybe blue, right? So the box 2, see box 2, also to have width, which is 100 pixels, height, 100 pixels, and the background color, and I set to red, maybe red, right? So now what do I have? You can see this box, right? Hello?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so it means that what am I doing here? Don't focus on this, focus on this thing. This box 1 is the parent, right? Box 1, and this box 2 is the child. You understand? So the box 2 is the red, and the box 1 is the blue. So that's what is saying here. And it's box 1, box 2. So now look at where it is. This one is situated here, and this one is also situated here because of the width. You understand? Okay. So now if I want this one to be able to move inside this box, the blue box, I have to set the blue box to be what? Relative. So I say position, say position, then I say relative. Now when I say relative, now this blue box is now what? Able to let anything which is inside it to be moved. You understand? So now what I can make it to move is I can set the small one position to the what? Absolute. Now if I set position to absolute, mean this box now can move left, right, understand? But it will be inside this box.
Mm.
You understand? So this box 2, it is what? It is relative to this. It moves inside this box 1. So if, for instance, I want it to move, I can just say top, or it is at the top, I can just say top. Maybe I can give 50 pixels, right?
Yeah.
Why is it 50 pixels? Because its width and height is 100. So when I say 50 pixels, mean it's what? Take the half of what? Of its what shape. So it came at the middle. So if I want it to come at the center, I can also say left, right? Say left. Then I say also take 50 pixels. So now I see it is what? The center. You understand? So if you want to calculate, you know that, oh, this one is what? From 100, this one is 100. So making what? Based on what? Based on the height of this, which is what? 200 height. So the double of this is what is equal to this, the blue one.
So like you use div inside div for this one. So
Yeah.
what are they normally use this one for? Is it for decorating the website or
Come again?
like for this one, the first one you said we use it for the cursor that we like use to move the text around, right? The first one.
Yeah, okay.
But this one you put another box inside another box, right?
Yeah. I put
So
another box inside another box
what is the
because
use of this one?
the usual reason is important because if you have a box like this, right? And inside it, you want this box to be in the middle, right?
Yeah.
You can make it be in the middle using this same example, position. That's why we are talking about position. The position here is, this one is relative, meaning it can allow anything from inside it to move. You understand? So it's now, if it is static now, maybe it says static. Maybe it says static here. This box itself is static. I
Mm.
hope you understand. This box is static. The reason why we add relative is that to make this to move.
Mm.
You understand? So always think that if you want something inside another box to move or inside any element to move, then make the parent relative. Yeah. So for instance, look at it. This one is inside this box, right? So
Yeah.
the reason why this absolute and this one is relative is that now if I want to move this box, the blue box, it will move with the same thing as it is without shifting this red anywhere. It will be like the static one. So it will be
Mm.
here, the same position, but it can move this blue box anywhere. So now, since we are in this blue box, which is box one, if I come here and say, I want you to move left, maybe I say 100 pixels, now it moves, right? Now, when it
Mm.
moves, does it affect the thing which is inside? No.
No.
You understand? So that's
Yeah.
why the absolute is very important. Because now, if you set the inside one absolute, it is what? Looking at this box. You understand? Because there is a situation that when you are designing a website, you want something to be inside. I hope you understand. For instance, if you are designing a card, right? If you are
Mm.
designing a card, sometimes you want this thing to be in the middle, like this. But you want also this thing to move somewhere. But you don't want the inside one to move. You only want this box to move. So if that is the case, make sure this one is absolute inside this, the blue one, so that it can move to the speed that you want. So I can come here and say, instead of this one, I can just clear this. You see, it came here, right? But
Mm.
at the absolute, it is at the initial position. If I want this to come bottom, I can say bottom, then I say 0. So it came at the bottom. Understand? So even if I move this, wherever I move this, if I move this, maybe I say top, and I see what 200 pixels. This one doesn't change. This doesn't change. I understand. You see where it is. It doesn't change. It came 200 pixels here, but the inside one doesn't change position. You understand? You always, if I say right, then I see 0. Now, because I already say left, it cannot move from there, right? So it's stuck here. But if I say maybe, let's see 100 pixels, it doesn't move. Why? Because I already gave what? The left. So you use one at a time. And so if I say left, is there. But if I say negative left, you see where it's going. So either you leave left, or you use right, or use bottom, or use top. Understand? So that is the function of this absolute. It always look at the relative one, which is the blue one here, and then based on the position that you set it. So here I can come here at the bottom. I know I'm here at the bottom. So at the bottom, if I say move 20 pixels at the bottom, it's moved. So it leaves 20 pixels here at the bottom. It came here. You understand? But if I want it, because I already know the main box, I mean the blue box is 200 by 200, which is a square, and the small one is 100 by 100, which also is square. If I move this to 50, it come at the middle. So why don't I say top for it to come below 50 pixels? And if I want it to go left so that it will be in the middle, I say left, and I say what? 50 pixels, so that it will be in the middle. Understand? So if I want to add any other property, I can add, maybe can add border radius and say I want maybe 15 pixels. You see the round corner is maybe I can say 25. Understand? So this red is affected this. Similarly, I can go here and say I add border radius to also this, maybe also click 25 pixels. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So there's a way of a time that maybe I want to achieve something like this. I can use this to achieve it. So when you talk about element, you already know elements. This div is an element. The div one, which is inside, is also an element. So we just apply positioning. Where do you want that thing to position itself? So when you talk about element, those are the elements. And when you talk about positioning, this is where we use it. Position, relative, and then we add either left, right, bottom, or top, or position what? Absolute, top, left, bottom, or right. Understand? So it's not something which is difficult. You just have to make sure you try it, and then you are good to go. You see that you can even do it. Hope you understand now.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand something, you can just let me know so I can explain it clearly for you. So look at the example. You see the left, this one, top left, top right, center, bottom right, bottom left. So this is why we can. So sometimes you can see a website with either something is here, or here, or here, or here, or center. So I'm teaching you this because the last time you did your blog, you couldn't make it to be in the center, right? So if you know
Yeah.
all this, you can now go and so let me use this since I've learned position. Let me use one element to make it be at the center or top left or right or whatever, whichever. So look at here, they say top left. You see it here, top left, right? So what did they do? Look at the same thing that we did here. The div container. So you see this is the container. And they made it position what? Relative. Right? So then inside the div, you see this is the div, this is the closing tag. So inside we have two you see, so this is how it is. The DDS. Look at how it is. Look at what it is. Maybe you cannot see it clearly, and then maybe I can use a different image here. Let's see if I copy the image here, and then put the image here. So here I have image. So you can say this is the image, right? So the image is what? Image, okay. Okay, let's go and see the images. Image, this is the image, right? So let's see, I'm going to delete this. Let's see, I'm going to delete this too. I wanted to show you something, but let me finish with this. Now come to that, right? So let's say this is the image. See what they did. They have div, this is a div, right? And inside the div, this is the opening div and this is the closing div. So inside the div, you have two elements, the image and another div, right? So this is the main parent or the container, right? So when they come here, they see what? Container. We target the container, which is what? Which is this container. So that's what? The parent. Okay, when they target the container, they make it what? Relative. So the position, they said position relative. So now, meaning that this container, whatever is inside it can be moved. It's free to move. But all whatever is inside can only move inside it. It cannot move outside and come here. It can only move inside this. Right? So that is what they are saying. So for instance, even if I add, like, I want you to see how the edges are. So if I said border, and I want to add the border so that you can see how the border look like. So now you see the border. So now you can see it clearly here. See, you see the border, right? So both this top left and the image are inside. See here, image and this div, which is the row top left, you see here. They are all inside the border. You understand? So this is the parent. So this container is come like the parent or the main box. You understand? So if we set the main box to be relative, it means that things that are inside can be moved. You understand? So now if I want image to move or if I want this div to move, I can now come and set them to be absolute, right? So I can target each of them, either image or this div. So I can come here and see I want to target what image, right? So I want to target the image elements. And when they did that, what did they do? This is the image. They said the weight of the image is 100, the height should be auto, and the what? The opacity is 0.5. You remember that? So we said what? Weight is what? 100%, right? The height is what? Set to auto, right? So when you set the height auto, it will be adjust, the height will adjust itself to the what? To the parent. You understand? When you set it 100, it means that take 100% of that inside the parent. That's what we're saying. So it means that the image itself will be full inside what? The edge. And so, but if I set maybe the image, maybe I set it to be let's say the width I set maybe 50, maybe like 500 pixels. You see what it does. It takes 500 pixels, but it's inside. Now, if I say 100%, it means that it looks at this border or this container as 100%. So if I set it 100%, it takes up all the width of what? The edges to be in 100%. So it's equal. You understand? It's inside there. It cannot go outside the border now because I said it to be the image should be 100% inside. Should be full, right? And the height too, I set it to be because I don't know, maybe I don't exactly know the height itself, then I can set the height to be auto. So it means that make the height to also be equal to the height of the edge of the parent. You understand? But because we have another element which is inside, it is here. If we hadn't have this one, it will just take full this. So for instance, if I go here and delete this div and delete this, what did you see? You see that now this has taken all this place position. But because this one was there, it also has its space there. So this one cannot just take full of it. Understand? So now I have this and what? The opacity. Opacity, you know what the opacity does, right? We did it before, right? Or you don't remember?
Yeah, we did it before.
Hello? Okay.
Yeah,
So
hello.
the opacity I told you, the range of the opacity is from what?
I
And you remember
forgot.
the range? It's from 1 to 0, right?
Mm,
So if I set the opacity to 1, it means that it's the same image. But if I want to reduce the opacity, I can set it to 0.9. You see that it fade away. You understand?
mm,
If I set 0.5, you see that it's different now. But if I set 0.1, you cannot even see it. You see it's just small. It
mm,
faded a lot. So that is opacity. So it look like a brightness, I understand. So if I set it to what 1 means 100%. 0.5 means what? 50% of it. So look at, so that's why they set it here, 0.5, meaning 50% opacity. So this normally we can use this to make a text stand out from an image. Like if an image is blocking the text, people cannot see or cannot read the text. So you can make the image opacity to be what? 0.5, which is 50%, so that people can see the image. You can be able to read the text. You understand?
yeah.
So now, since we want this one, we set this one to auto. We want this to full or to fill all this edge, right? But
Mm,
normally this is just there, so it's giving us a space that we don't want. So how can we move this to come here, either top, left, or right, so that this image can take the space here because we set the height to auto. So it's when this move, it will force itself to fill the space. You understand? So we want a way to move this out of this. And initially I told you that we set the container, which is this margin, the container to relative, right? It means that things can be able to move inside it. I understand. So now, since we have an image, we can target the what? These were the div or this text which is inside. So it is what? It has a class of what? Top left. We can go and target what? Top left. You can go here and see we are going to target the class dot top left. And then now you can set this position because this position is what relative, which making this can be moved inside the container. So since we want this to move, we can set it to what? position to be absolute. So you see what happened. You see what happened?
Yeah.
So when you set it to absolute, it's what? It left this thing to what? Now because it give the position of this to what? To come and take this what? This space. So the image can now fill the space. You understand? But its initial position, the initial position of this element, it was here. So it will still be here unless we what? We change the position. You understand? Because we set it to absolute, it was already here. So if I remove this absolute, look at what happened, right? So if I put it back to absolute, it's still in the same position. It doesn't move. But now we made it in such a way that it can move. So now it is our turn to either move it top, right, left, or what? Bottom, or top left, top right. You understand? So now we have to decide where do you want this to go. Tell me where do you want this to go inside this place?
Mm. Bottom?
Where do you, it's already at the bottom. So if you see bottom where, bottom here, bottom left, bottom right, top left. Because when you look at this, I was giving an example like this. You see top left is there, top right, center, bottom left, bottom right. So you have to ask or decide where do you want that thing, this to be. So since the name is top left, we can make it top left, or what do you think?
Top right?
Hello? Top right. Okay, so maybe we can change this top left and see top right so that it will follow the same thing, what we are doing. So you can go here and say, since we say position absolute, now it can be moved. Where do you want it to be moved? So we can say top, and then we make it 0, right? If we set it to 0, means that it's going top. I understand. So if I say 0, it goes top. You understand? And then now we are going to the right. We see top, right. So we see top, and then now we right. We write right here, and we set the right also to be 0. Understand what we did now?
Yeah.
So now it was here, and here when it was here, what do we call it here? It was here at bottom left, right?
Yeah.
So always you try to make it 0. If you want it to be at the edge, you just make it 0. Always start with that. Put that in your mind. Don't just be afraid of it. Just like here it is here. You just say I want it to be top. Okay, if you want it to be top, just put there to be 0. You say top 0. You achieve what you want, right? It is top, it is here 0. Now you can decide what if it is here 0, where do you want to move after this one being in this position? You can say that I want it to move maybe 200 pixels after this one initial position. Then you can set maybe 200 pixels. You understand? So it now tells you that it was here initially 0, and it came down to 200 pixels here. So if I want it to move and come here, you can also set it. But how can you set it to be center? You have to look at the measurements from here to here. If you have the measurement, or if you can guess the measurement, then you can know exactly where you can let it be in the middle. I understand. So for example, if the here and here were to be 100, and here were to be 100, then you can set it to be 50, 50, right? percent. You can see 50% top, right? And left, you see 50%. What happened? Now you achieve what you want, which is at the middle, right? Are you there? You understand? Because since you know that maybe the left, it is 100, this width is 100, the image is
Yeah.
100, right? So it's looking at this and say, okay, you see left is 50, top is also 50. So I can move down 50, move left 50. So most at times when they want something to come at the middle, this is what they use. They use position absolute, top 50, left 50. So it will be in the middle. I hope you understand now. Right? Okay, so that is what this is all about. So which position value makes an element stay in the same place even if the page is scrolled? So now we move to the other one, the other value, which is what? Position sticky. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we move to the sticky. And the sticky is the same or is similar to what we did the last time, which is the fixed. But only the difference is that look at this, because I already showed you how it was like this. So here, if I say I want to bring E and I bring lorem, and I make this lorem duplicated. I make this lorem, I duplicate this lorem. I just want to duplicate it many times so that you see the effects, right? Okay, so you see what it's doing. So first, if you have a website that you can scroll up, down. Okay, so what does the sticky does? So assuming we are going to use this as an example, or let's create a different scenario as an example. So if we remove this, we can have a div and see the div should have a class. You can target the div here and see the div has a width, maybe 200 pixels, height 200 pixels, background color, add this to be blue, right? So this is our what? Our div, right? And this is our, so look at how when we scroll, what happened? You see it is what? It is hidden, right? When I scroll down, when I'm going down, you see this is hidden. It's going to be hidden, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
now look at it. When I see position, and I see what? Sticky. Because normally it's that. So you see now it is working, right? Just look at it very careful. Maybe you didn't see it clearly. When I scroll, what happened? It is hide or it is hidden, right? This
Yeah.
box, just focus on this box. You see it is hidden, right? But when I see
Yeah.
position sticky, right? And then I add what? The position. I want the position to be top so that this one will stick to the top here. That's why I added what. But if you leave it sticky, it wouldn't know which position to be. So you have to give it a position. So if I say top 0, it's what is stick here. So no matter now, even if I scroll this one will be sticky here. So it look like a fix, right?
Mm.
So if I scroll this, look at how it was. So when I'm
Mm.
scrolling, what happened? Look, it's sticky. You
Yeah.
understand? So this one is you can use it to do another advertisement.
Mm.
You understand? The both sticky and fixed, you can use them to do an advertisement for on your website. So maybe in your website, you
Mm.
want people to be seeing this whenever they scroll. Even if they scroll, this one will remain here. I hope you've seen some website like that.
Yeah.
You scroll and the thing is just there sticky. You understand? Mostly we use this in a nav bar, like when you have a nav bar. For instance, if I can create a nav bar like this for like an example in this website. So let's say I'm going to create a nav bar and I said nav, and inside the nav I have UL, and the UL I have list with I have a link, and then I say home, right? And I create this like 4 times like this. So if I have something like this home and I say about, and say contact, and I say maybe like blog, something like that, right? So this one I can give it, I can target the nav here, the nav. So the nav I can give it the background color, and I say blue, right? Then I can target what? I can go and target the nav UL list. Target the list, and we can use what? Display. Remember, display,
Mm.
right? Because our this thing is
Mm.
arranged block, right? So we can see we want it to be horizontal, so we can see inline. So now the thing is inline, right? Okay,
Mm.
then we can target our what? The color, because the color is black, which we cannot see, right? So you can say you can target the E, which is the link, and you can say test decoration, right? And we see none, right? So it's moved that instance. So I just add a color so that you can see, I add white color so that you can see it clearly. You see them there, right? You can see now, see it there.
Mm.
So here in the nav, I can say I want maybe the height, or maybe even if I don't add the height, I can add what? The padding to either A, or I can target the list. So whichever I want, I can do it because I can see padding maybe 20 pixels, right? Or maybe if I look at it and say, maybe I should target there, here to be padding, then also do the same thing, right? I can have this say something like this. So maybe I come here and say, I want the height, maybe 100 pixels is big, maybe 50 pixels, right? Something like this.
Mm.
So I can do it similar this way. So here I can see display, although we didn't do flex, but I'm just showing you how it's possible to center all this. So if I say just file content, center, so all this come on the center. You understand? So I can achieve something like this. You see, it is still in the center, no matter how I stretch it. You see, that's why the display
Mm.
flex is very important. You see, it is still in the center. So if I want it to be in the middle, I can see align items, then I see center. So it is still in the middle. It is in the middle and it is in the center. You understand? So now whatever I want, I can add it to all of them. But if I don't want to add anything, I can just what make this stick. So now if you want this, you see now it is not sticking, right? So if I want this to be stick, maybe let me add what? Box shadow. maybe 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 0.5 pixels, and the color should be maybe black, right? Maybe I can make it something like this. Understand? So you see that below you can see some box shadow there. But even if you want some box shadow, you can go to some website like this. You see there's some CSS box shadow. That's some what? Box shadow CSS. You can get some online. You understand? You can get some of them online, like this website. Box shadow. You see how it is, right?
Yeah.
So maybe this is example right here. So you can copy this first one or the last one like this, and then you go to the website. You can clear this and paste the one you have. So you see how it is now. You see how it looks now. It looks nice. You see. So now what can we do? We can also do something like the sticky. Now we apply the sticky to it. You can see position. We can see what? Sticky, right? So now if you say sticky, we have to specify where do you want this to stick and to position itself. So since I say sticky, then I say top, then I say 0. Now I mean that it will stay at the top or it will stick at the top. So now if I move this, you see that the thing is sticky there. And as I know you've seen a lot of websites like that,
Yeah.
right? So this is how they use to achieve something like this, sticky. You understand? When you are moving, the thin one is sticky here. So that is the header that we normally use. But if I use fixed, you see that here we have a space here. When it is sticky, it allows you or it gives you a space. But when it is fixed, this text will be behind this thing. For instance, if I clear this and say fixed, look at what happened. You see. It looked like sticky, but now because it is fixed, this element, there is no space and it doesn't give you any space. So that's the difference between sticky and what? And fixed. We see how it is. So there's no space. But if I say sticky, the sticky will give you a space. So that's why we use sticky. You see, you have a space there. Unless you screw that, this thing can go behind it. So that is what the position is all about. Yeah. Well, I think, friends, look at this. Look at, you see, when I'm going, immediately I reach the position, it's thick. And so it's the same thing. For instance, here I put it 0. That is why it is thick here. You understand? But if I set it instead of 0, I can set it to be maybe 30 pixels. And so it's 30 pixels. So this space is the 30 pixels. So immediately its row is the 30 pixels now. So if I scroll and I try to reach at that, you see that that thing is sticking. You see it's sticking here at this position.
Yeah.
You understand? So that is what you need to understand. So if I set it to, you see negative. So if maybe 20, you see, so maybe 10. So immediately it's when it is half of it start to stick. So sometimes if you want to achieve something like this, it depends on how you want your website to look like. So sometimes some people just use 0 when it's true it will be just stick here. So you must specify at least one of the either top, right, bottom, or left property for sticky position to work. You understand? You cannot just say sticky and it will work. You have to specify whether a top, right, bottom, left. Understand? So in this example, we have this. So if we click on the example as we did, it's sticky, you understand? So you see what they did. They have it as position which is sticky, and the top they made it 0. Understand? So it means that when this reach at the top 0, it should stick. Understand? And they brought what the border and they add what background color. So the same thing as we did in the example. Right. So the common use case for sticky positioning, where we use it, as I give an example, sticky headers, right? So this is our header. So that's why it's sticky. If we set this to top, we set it to 0. So now it becomes sticky. So that's why we said we use it as a sticky headers. Navigation bar that stick to the top when scrolling. We can make it sticky sidebar. You understand? You can make it sticky sidebar. So sometimes you can see maybe this one they could use it as like a sidebar here. And so when you scroll, that thing will be sticky there. Or use that as a sticky table header. Understand? So maybe a table will remain visible when scrolling long tables. So we have sticky versus fixed, as I told you the last time. The key differences is that initial behavior act like a relative, that's the sticky one. And then there are the fixed one, always fixed to viewport. Understand? Space in document, it takes up space initially, but this fixed one doesn't take up any space. When you scroll it, it's tick after the threshold. Understand? So it's tick after the setting that you give it, the volume that you give it. So it doesn't get sticky there. You have to scroll it, then it will stick. But for the fix, it always fixed. So the sticky one, in terms of container boundary, it respect parent boundary, as I told you. So it looks at the parents. Maybe here you can see the parent is the body. But from the example, the other example that I gave you, is look at the parent what? The parent boundaries. But for the sticky, it doesn't care. It's always looking at the viewport. When we talk about viewport, always we are talking about the page size of the window size of the page. You understand? For example, if you have this, you look at the size of this page, what you can see here, that is the viewport. Yeah, so I think there's no much to talk about. So let's look at this question. What is required for position sticky to work? Here, you must specify at least one of the top, right, bottom, or left property for sticky position to work, right? So at least one of the top, bottom, left, or right must be set. So if here I come here and I set this to us and I say position sticky and I left it like that, it wouldn't work. See, nothing is working, even though you set it to sticky. But if I add the top 0, now it is going to work. You understand? So that is what it means here. Right? Yeah. So all the CSS positioning properties, we have bottom, clip as an absolute. We didn't reach here, but clip as an absolute position element. We have left, position right top. You understand? So these are some of the properties. So I think maybe we can call it a day. And then I'll see you on, I think, on Wednesday.